Why does Earth have only one moon, when Mars has two of its own? If Earth orbited a massive planet, how would our lives change? Or if our moon had a moon of its own, what would that mean for Earth? If you can see the end and turn the story upside down, perhaps the moonship theory offers another twist. Bring another version. Have a nice weekend. First, let's travel back 4.50 billion years ago, the most significant in the history of the Earth. One of those moments. Scientists believe in the early days of the solar system next to the Earth, there's a planet called Tionia, probably about the size of Mars, but we don't have much evidence to prove it. After all, Tionia no longer exists, and that leads to the big collision hypothesis. Why is it called a hypothesis? How did the moon come into being? There's no conclusive evidence. We will analyze according to this theory. Pia and the orbit of the early Earth, they were destined to collide head-on. When two massive celestial bodies collide at high speed, it can be called a color change. A lot of stuff ejected from two planets, but the debris didn't float directly into outer space. Instead, it formed a meltdown around the Earth. Molten rock, a dense ring of dust and gas. Over millions of years, these materials, under the action of the Earth's attractive force, gathered together, ultimately merged into a single celestial body. That's the moon today. So if the moon really came from this way, does this mean that there will be a second major collision? Well, that's not the only way satellites form. Except it takes millions of years. The big collision that can be completed hypothesis also has lower costs. Say, faster way to acquire a satellite, for example. A small celestial body, when passing by another celestial body with more attractive forces, captured or pulled into its orbit. Tau is like Neptune's moon Triton. He was once considered to be a giant frozen objects in the Kuiper belt, possibly after a close encounter, captured by the attractive forces of Neptune. This huge attractive force disturbances possibly ejecting him from his original orbit and pulled it into Neptune's own orbit. As time goes by, Neptune's tidal forces forcing the track of the sea sweater from an elongated oval to a nearly circular shape in the formation of this orbit. It's because of the sea sweater, unlike other large moons in the solar system, it's a retrograde orbit. But it's not like water. Retrograde. It just shows the direction of his revolution opposite the direction of rotation of the planet. Now, imagine this. What if the moon's satellites were like sea sweaters? It's a captured object. Maybe he was an asteroid. The distance is just right when passing by the Earth. It avoids colliding with the Earth close enough to the moon. Trapped in the orbit of the moon, Zhuzhong creates an extremely subtle attractive force disturbance. He should be just the right size. Can be locked by the attractive force of the moon without disturbing the moon's orbit around the Earth. A study shows that to maintain a stable orbit around the moon, the diameter of this celestial body cannot exceed 1 kilometer. But even this asteroid successfully became a moon sweater. He can't stay that way forever. He will continue to be influenced by the Earth in the double pull of lunar tidal forces. Pushed in different directions are two words popping into your head right now. Trisomy. Exactly. This attractive force system of three celestial bodies interacting, it is often difficult to maintain long-term stability. Offside is likely to be thrown from orbit or collide with the moon. Therefore, even if there was a month, the only thing he has the most in his entire life cycle, maybe only a few years or decades in this brief period of time. In addition to allowing us to learn more about the story of the moon, this offside to life on Earth, there's almost no physical impact. Maybe at the right time, we'll make astronomy enthusiasts watch a spectacle. Saw him gradually float back to the depths of space or crash into the surface of the moon. But if he is accidentally affected by the attractive forces of the Earth, hit us head on. If he eventually collides with the Earth, this offside ending like other asteroids that have crashed into Earth, entering our atmosphere. Intense high temperatures when rubbed against air, considering his small size, likely to disintegrate before hitting the ground. But if he stays intact, it's a problem. At an average speed of 72,000 kilometers per hour, this asteroid, it could land directly over your city. The energy released by such an impact would be equivalent to several gigatons of TNT. Back to the question at the beginning: if Earth orbited a massive planet, what will happen now? Suddenly shrinking the Earth to the size of the moon expanded to the size of the Earth. First, let's set a limit. If the Earth shrank, the Earth remains unchanged except for people, animals, and plants. Everything else is scaled down. Let's call it Little Earth, and that bigger moon is called the Big Moon. First, the attractive forces will change dramatically for any celestial body. The size of the attractive force depends on the mass and radius. The radius of the small Earth will be 1/4 of the original, but its mass is only 2% of that of regular Earth. That's a big change. It will transform your life. It's really exciting. On a small Earth, you will feel lighter because the attractive force is only 27% of the original Earth. If you weigh 70 kilograms on a regular Earth now, you weigh about 19 kilos. Under such attractive forces, your movements will be particularly relaxed, like Armstrong bouncing around on the moon. It's just that you're still on Earth and you don't need a spacesuit. Once a distant place will suddenly become close at hand. Once 6,000 kilometers and 7 hours of flight, it's only 1,500 kilometers now. Flight time is less than 2 hours. Extreme opposition. Bad news follow. Shaman on a planet with much more attractive forces evolved, so we are not used to living in a low attractive force environment. Only 6 months in space, astronauts lose 13% of their muscle mass. Although the low attractive force environment is not as good as zero gravity is so bad, but your body can still be severely affected. Your spine will regress and lengthen, causing persistent back pain. Muscles atrophy. Reduced attractive force fluids in the body will move more easily up the body, causes what some scientists call facial swelling, bird leg syndrome. Basically, your legs will become very thin. The face will swell. The eyes can also be damaged. If you feel serious, the impact of that big moon will be even more terrifying. Now it becomes as wide as the Earth. It weighs about 2/3 as much as the original Earth. And guess what? Its attractive force will also increase significantly. Now the attractive force of the big moon will reach about 2/3 the size of regular Earth. This will give the tides of the small Earth have catastrophic effects on regular Earth. The height of the tide is about 1 meter, but if the moon suddenly becomes much heavier, it pulls harder on the Earth's surface. What was once a tidal wave will now become a tsunami. As a result, coastal cities will be submerged and destroyed. We can't survive. And that's just the beginning. The attractive force of the moon will pull the small Earth so strongly it deforms the Earth's surface. Trigger a massive earthquake and violent volcanic eruptions. Look at the attractive force of Jupiter. How did you get Ganymede? If there are volcanoes erupting everywhere, you will know. And finally, the atmosphere that allows us to live on this new little Earth will soon disappear. First, a sharp decrease in attractive force will no longer be able to bind the atmosphere. It will start to float into space. Some gas may even be trapped by the large moon. Even a small Earth can retain a little atmosphere. Will also be eroded over time due to the smaller size. Small Earth will cool faster, eventually loses heat to its molten core. It's a movement of integration. Gives our planet a magnetic field. The magnetic field helps protect the atmosphere. Glass protected from the solar wind. Losing an atmosphere means you won't be able to breathe. The temperature will become like the moon heat during the day. Night plummets. Liquid water boils in oceans and lakes. Evaporation. This is basically the end of life on a small Earth. Over the next few million years, the small Earth will no longer be a planet. The moon is locked to the Earth by day. This means that it takes him a week to rotate. It takes him 1 revolution around the Earth, so the moon always faces us. In our new scenario, after millions of years, the small Earth will eventually be locked by the large moon. The autobiography of a small Earth will slow down. Eventually, it would become the moon it is today. Half of our planet will never see the big moon in the sky. A day on a small Earth is no longer 24 hours, but maybe up to a month. You will experience darkness for half a month. Then came half a month of daylight. On a small Earth, you will struggle to survive. In a thin atmosphere, your body will experience extreme temperatures due to low attractive forces. Radiation. Earthquake. It was devastated by volcanoes and tsunamis. Your life will be miserable, but there's a silver lining. The big moon, you look up and see it would look spectacular in the night sky, that it's going to be 4 times as bright. You can actually see it in plain sight. However, considering the various problems, on a small Earth, the more you look at the big moon, the more attractive it becomes. First of all, its attractive force is greater than that of the small Earth, and it's in the habitable zone of the solar system. Acquire as much as we are used to solar energy. But the 2 biggest problems are the moon still lacks an atmosphere. There's no liquid water. So if humans want to settle on the big moon, we're going to have to create an atmosphere for it. In extreme Theoretical assumption is that through a huge energy shock unleashed the interior of the moon, possible volatile substances with its more attractive force, the big moon will be more likely to stay live in this newly formed atmosphere with a basic atmosphere. Next step is to get water from the sailors on the moon. A regular-sized lunar 2 stages about 60 billion tons of sailors, and the sailor reserves of the big moon will be several times that number. After releasing the water, plants can be introduced to produce more gas and oxygen. Take the first step towards establishing a lunar base. As for how to get supplies from small Earth to big moon, the good news is that due to the low attractive force of the small Earth, the fuel needed to launch a spacecraft to the new moon will be much less. So maybe humans will find a way to survive. After all, we've been through disasters before and hope to get through it again. Certainly this is just an imagination based on scientific theories deduction, but it's this wild imagination allowing us to explore the infinite possibilities of the universe. It also allows us humans to look up at the stars. Seems so unique.